You know what nobody tells you about the American dream? It comes with a leaky roof, a tenant who texts at 2 a.m. about a weird smell, and a property tax bill that somehow doubled while you weren't looking. Welcome to the wonderful world of single-family home rentals, where your passive income fantasy meets the very active reality of becoming everyone's least favorite landlord. Imagine you're scrolling through real estate listings right now, calculator in hand, convinced this is your ticket to financial freedom. You've done the math a dozen times. Mortgage payment, property taxes, insurance, maybe a little cushion for repairs. Rent covers it all with $500 to spare each month. Easy money, right? But here's the question nobody wants to ask out loud. When did easy money start requiring a plumbing license, a law degree, and the patience of a kindergarten teacher? Because that's essentially the job description now. Let's pull back the curtain on what's really happening in your neighborhood. Those investors who bought up single-family homes over the past decade, they're quietly starting to sweat. Cap rates have compressed to the point where you're lucky to clear 4 or 5% annually after all expenses. Meanwhile, your savings account is suddenly offering nearly that much without the midnight calls about broken water heaters. The math that made sense in 2015 looks downright silly in 2026. Home prices have climbed so high that the rent you can actually charge doesn't come close to justifying the purchase price anymore. You're not building wealth. You're subsidizing someone else's housing while hoping for appreciation that may or may not materialize. Picture yourself as that proud new landlord, keys in hand, ready to collect that sweet rental income. Month 1 goes perfectly. Month 2, the HVAC dies. That's $4,000. Month 6, your tenant breaks their lease, and now you're covering the mortgage solo while the property sits empty for 8 weeks. Suddenly, that $500 monthly profit has evaporated into a loss for the year. Here's the delicious irony. The very thing that made single-family rentals attractive is what's killing them now. Everyone saw the same YouTube videos, read the same get-rich-through-real-estate books, and came to the same conclusion. The market got flooded with amateur landlords, and now competition for tenants is fierce, while property prices remain astronomical. Some investors double down, convinced they just need more properties to make the numbers work. They call it scaling. The banks call it increasing your liability. Your spouse calls it, are you out of your mind? But wait, there's a plot twist nobody saw coming. While traditional landlords are drowning in maintenance requests and vacancy rates, a different breed of real estate investor is quietly printing money. They're not buying houses, they're buying buildings. Small multifamily properties, duplexes, triplexes, quads suddenly look like the smart money's best kept secret. Why manage one tenant in one house when you could manage 4 tenants in one building on one lot? The maintenance visits are consolidated, the vacancy risk is distributed, and the numbers actually make sense again. Here's where it gets interesting. Most people assume multifamily properties are prohibitively expensive or complicated. Turns out, that's exactly what keeps the competition manageable. While everyone's fighting over the same single-family homes, experienced investors are scooping up small apartment buildings at reasonable prices with cap rates that would make your single-family rental weep. Think about the economics for just a second. One roof, one foundation, one lot, one property tax bill. But 4 separate income streams. When one unit goes vacant, you're not lying awake calculating how to cover the full mortgage. You've still got 3/4 of your income flowing in. The institutional investors figured this out years ago. Those massive corporations buying up neighborhoods, they're not actually targeting single-family homes anymore. They pivoted to purpose-built rentals and larger multifamily complexes. They did the math and realized single-family rentals are a sucker's game at scale. Meanwhile, individual investors are still stuck in 2015, convinced that buying a 3-bedroom ranch house in the suburbs is the path to retirement. It's like watching someone invest in blockbuster stock after Netflix already existed. Now imagine you're at a dinner party and someone asks about your rental property. If you own a single-family home, you launch into a rant about nightmare tenants and surprise expenses. If you own a small multifamily building, you smile and talk about cash flow. The difference in that conversation tells you everything. But here's the uncomfortable truth that real estate gurus don't mention in their seminars. Location matters exponentially more than property type, and timing might matter most of all. Buying a single-family rental in a declining market is wealth destruction. Buying a multifamily property in the wrong neighborhood just means you're losing money 4 times as fast. Some markets have already figured this out. In the Midwest and South, investors have been quietly building multifamily empires while coastal investors were still convinced single-family appreciation would save them. Now those Midwest investors are actually collecting checks while coastal landlords are hoping to break even. The cycle continues, predictably absurd as ever. New investors see headlines about housing shortages and assume rentals are guaranteed money. They buy high, panic when expenses hit, and eventually sell at a loss to the next optimistic amateur. Rinse and repeat. Despite every warning sign, every negative cash flow horror story, and every article explaining why the math doesn't work, someone right now is putting in an offer on an overpriced single-family rental. They're convinced they'll be different. They're convinced their tenant will be perfect. They're convinced appreciation will save them. Here's what's really wild. The same amount of money that barely covers one mediocre single-family rental in most markets could make a solid down payment on a small multifamily property with actual positive cash flow. But most people never even look because they're convinced houses are safer or simpler. Safer? Tell that to your emergency fund after your single tenant moves out. The playbook is shifting whether you're ready or not. The investors making money in today's market aren't the ones following decade-old strategies. They're the ones who adapted, who ran the actual numbers without rose-colored glasses, and who weren't afraid to learn a slightly more complex game. You want passive income? Real passive income requires either enough scale to hire professional management or property types that generate enough cash flow to actually be worth the hassle. One single-family rental does neither. A small apartment building might actually do both. So here's your reality check wrapped in a bow. If you're considering buying a single-family home to rent out in 2026, you're either getting an absolute steal of a deal or you haven't actually run the numbers correctly. There's not much middle ground anymore. The margins are too thin and the risks are too high. That's the rental property game today. Less passive income utopia, more active income headache with a side of property maintenance. But hey, at least multifamily buildings spread the misery across multiple units while actually paying you for the privilege.